that instance when you were 13 again.
Oh, okay.
That we talked about.
Yeah, the truth is I'm not even sure if it was 13 or 12 or
Okay. Yeah.
11 even. It was, when we had just arrived in Canada I just turned 10, and I guess there's a whole series of unfortunate events that led up to that moment, but the reason I think that had such an impact was that we had such a village at home. I grew up, my first, backing up even more, my mom said, I was 3 weeks late, but I came out smiling, and I was just, ready to tackle the world and, full of joy. And then, I had 3 brothers and 3 sisters. We lived in on the coast, just up from the ocean, right beside a castle with farms behind us and in front of us. I mean, overlooking Dublin. It was a beautiful location, and for kids, we had like an acre of land, a big old farmhouse to run around in and play and climb. And we were outside, most of the time, running up and down to the ocean and barefoot, and playing in chasing cows out back, and everything. My grandparents were there. My mom and dad were happy. It was just a really. I think my dad was going to church every day. Like, he was getting involved with the Benedictine monk, and he was thriving. His design practice, it was just thriving, and he was doing, he was writing poetry on the side, and that was being aired on, the radio, and so. My mom was, she was in her element. Kids, Ireland, and family around, and friends, really good friends, and so we went from there to, fast forward to Toronto, and landed. And what I remember coming in from the airport.
Why did you leave? Sorry, what was the decision to leave?
Well, the decision to leave was because my dad had, I mean, this is what I understand. My mom and dad decided together to get out because there was nowhere for my dad to go upwards. He kind of reached a plateau. And
in the design business?
He was in the design, industrial design, and then he was given this offer to come to Toronto and design and operate and put together I guess it was an industrial design consortium. So there was a big architectural firm there that wanted to bring in industrial design, and they needed somebody who was really good at that to set it up, and somebody who was well established, somebody who had understood design from European perspective. And so my dad was the top of his game then, so he was the guy that they came over and offered him a job, and he said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. But after the 3rd year in a row, they came back and offered him 3 times the amount. He finally said yes. But when he came over 6 months before we arrived.
Oh, okay.
He ended up doing the deal on a handshake, and 2 weeks before we arrived, or after we arrived, the whole project was called off.
Oh, goodness.
And then I guess, he had ran off with another woman, and by the time we arrived, things were falling apart, but I didn't know for sure, because my mom didn't know for sure either until she arrived. We barely it was a house arranged at the last minute by friends of my dad, I think, that he had been working with, and so, what I remember is the drive in from the airport, from
Yeah.
Pearson Airport. Some of my dad's friends were some European hippies. They had this old Volkswagen van, and we were all sitting in there, and I just remember looking out and looking at how gray Toronto was,
Absolutely.
and the feeling I had was, oh my God, this is not going to end well. Something's not right, and this is, like, I could feel it before, even though I didn't know what was going on, or none of us kids did, or even my mom fully. But as soon as we arrived, an hour later, it all, shit hit the fan kind of thing.
Do you remember what month it was? Because I mean, it could
So
be gray.
April.
April.
April 6th we arrived, 1969. And we drove right into Hippieville, like it was Yorkville.
Yorkville,
Right?
Hazelton Avenue.
97 Hazelton Lane.
Oh my gosh.
And that was where we landed, but there was no furniture, there was no cutlery, there was nothing there but a house. And my dad just got that house before we arrived.
Scrambled.
And then when we arrived, I remember, oh boy, this is just really awful. So my mom and dad started fighting right away, and it was just as it came out, he was having an affair, he lost the job, he basically now was having a nervous breakdown. My mom thought the same thing. She needed to have a nervous breakdown too because it was just so overwhelming. There was no money.
7 kids.
They had given up everything. There was 7 kids, from a 3-month-old to a 13-year-old. There was no family around. There was no furniture. There was nothing in the house. There was no friends. No prospect of money, and we landed in this foreign country, right? And so, we watched my dad basically, have a nervous breakdown in front of us, and he just eventually, I guess we got a TV and some chairs and whatnot, and some foamies, and my dad just sat in front of the TV, just popping Tylenol, or I think it was aspirin back then.
Yeah.
And then my brothers and I, there was so many things. The shift was such a dramatic shift. My brothers and I somehow stole some shovels and some plywood and dug up the backyard, literally like in trenches. We dug up the backyard, put the plywood on top of it, and then covered it with dirt and the sod again. And we had this little secret little hideaway.
Oh my gosh.
And my mom had no idea. And but it was like a bomb shelter for us, because it felt like there was so many bombs going on, above ground. Anyway, for me, what I remember was that feeling of driving in was just, oh my God, it was just, my whole heart just sank, and the gray and I remember thinking, this is not going to be fun. And sure enough, it wasn't. And so my brothers and I, we would go sit in this,
Cave.
bunker just to find some ground, and then it got worse. We were teased that the schooling was so different. We were in private school.
Were you at the Ketchum? Ketchum
Yes,
school?
Ketchum school.
Yeah.
And the teachers were all hippies and said, do whatever you want, and we were, we were used to private school where it was very kind of
Uniforms.
And then, then we got beat up on I remember sticking up for some fat kids or some ugly-looking kids or whatever. I didn't understand it. I just remember, stepping in between, and then I got beaten up. I remember getting beaten up like quite a few times because I didn't understand why they were picking on these kids.
So that didn't happen back home. That wasn't. I
don't remember it happening back home. I don't remember being teased about our haircuts and our accents and whatnot, and somehow, I don't remember, like, I always remember kind of somehow sticking up for kids. I mean, I always did that, I guess, but and then I didn't understand why I got beaten up, so I did it again. I went and stood up for another kid, for the same kid, and I got beaten up again. I said, no, you guys don't understand, you're not supposed to be doing this. And,
Yeah.
like, I thought they didn't get it, right?
Yeah.
And so I kept trying to explain to them, only to get beaten up again.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was, I can remember the pointy, like these kids were in Cali, they were in grade 7 and 8, I guess. They were older and it was a gang, and they liked to pick on these kids. And I just remember they had cowboy boots, and I can remember the cowboy boots going into my face and the
Oh my
smell of
God.
that leather, and it was like, and then it was, there was no, my mom was scrambling, just trying to survive and all the rest of it.
Mhm.
And then it just got worse from there. I remember being curious about the hippies and walking down to Yorkville, or we had to walk through there or something. There was a church. There was a church on.
A Bay in Bloor, or Avenue Road in Bloor.
Yeah, somewhere down there.
On the
we
corner?
used to walk down there. So,
Mhm.
and then one time I was walking down. I don't know. I was on my own, and I remember these hippies had these. They were sitting outside in these like outdoor cafes, and they had this sparkly. I don't know. They had some electronic thing that was going on with the signpost. They were doing something. I was really curious about it,
Mhm.
and then one of them asked me if I wanted to see an even cooler thing back in the restaurant or something like that. And I
Were you by
remember
yourself?
saying, as innocent as I was, I just said, well, sure. And I walked back there. And
By yourself you were walking?
I was by myself,
Oh.
yeah. And I walked, I went back there, and it seemed pretty friendly and whatnot. But the next thing you know, I was being raped. That was just like on top of everything else. It was like there was now I was being raped, and I thought, holy fuck, like. And so I went to my mom and I said, Mom, this is what happened, and she said, well, look, don't be ridiculous. That can't be going on. She said, there's no way that's happening. Like, with everything else going on, she couldn't cope with one of her kids being raped, so she said, don't be ridiculous. So I went away thinking, well, I can't tell Mom
Who can you tell?
what's going on. I can't tell her about. She can't cope with the fact that we're getting beaten up and we're getting teased and we're there's this stuff going on in the local schoolyard and on the streets and whatnot. And I remember shutting it down. And then one time I was in another incident that led up to me standing at Bay and Bloor. Another incident was we were in the ravine somehow, and I remember at I can't remember the name of the Castle Frank school, and behind Castle Frank at Bloor and
East End, East.
East End, yeah. There was a prison down there or something, and
Yeah. There was the Dawn. No, that's further. Okay.
yeah, there was some. Anyway, a prisoner got out, and somehow the prisoner had grabbed somebody. I don't know why I was down there again. Maybe it was with friends, and this guy you could tell he was a prisoner. He had some suit on. I can't remember what it was.
Mhm.
He had grabbed some kid,
Yeah.
and again I thought, I'll go and stand up for him or what have you. I think it was a girl actually. And then I saw him grab her and pull her behind, like a building down there, like a washer building or something, or a maintenance building. And I remember walking towards him and saying, stop, and he had a knife at her throat. and said, look, you come a step closer, I'm gonna kill her, get the fuck out of here, or something like that. And so I remember going, holy crap, like, what can I do? And I literally ran all the way home. Because there's nothing I could do for this girl. And I remember stopping the police or whatever and telling them, but I literally ran all the way home. And again, told my mom, and she said, don't be ridiculous. Like, she couldn't cope with all the things that were going on.
She had her,
And it was,
her ceiling.
yeah, she had, her husband has gone AWOL, he's got another girlfriend, there's no money, he's got no job, she's not familiar with the land, there's...
No family to help as well. I mean, you seem like you were surrounded with, you had a village, you had family back in Ireland. I'm sure such a large family, you had a bit of help. She had a bit of, a village.
Yeah. So she went to the church, the Catholic church, and eventually they gave us knives and forks, and eventually we got some money to get some basic things, and my dad started to get a bit of work. He came out of it, but I mean, things started to change. But by then, it felt so insane. The whole thing was so insane. And of course, my brothers, I don't remember this, but my brothers tell me that we were just, fighting so much, like we were just killing each other.
Yeah.
I had a brother a year older, a brother a year younger. I remember some of that, but I don't remember the details like they do. And I remember because I got raped, I remember the rage that I had that, if anybody went near me after that, like my brothers, I just wouldn't stop wailing on them until they gave up, until
survival
they
mode.
Stop.
Okay.
And it was like I was merciless, like it was just crazy. And then anyway, so then I ended up at some point, maybe I walked down to Vainglory. I still remember. I mean, I used to work at the Toby's later on in that same neighborhood, and they had a restaurant there that I worked at. And I just remember going, it all started adding up. I said, oh my God, we've got no village, we've got no family, our family's falling apart, we're getting beaten up, I'm getting beaten up, I'm seeing witnessing this murder, I've been, I can't talk to anybody about it, I got nobody's understanding, and then I got raped on top of that. I'm going, and my dad's not around, he can't, because he's out of his mind, and then he's run off. I see him once a week or twice a week, kind of thing, and
you had nowhere to go that was safe. Was there
nowhere
anywhere?
that was safe. Home, I didn't know what was going to happen next,
and you didn't feel that safety even walking into, some people say it, walking into a church or anywhere. I guess your school, you didn't feel it. Your home, you didn't feel it. Did you feel it in the bunker at all?
I think that's where I felt safe. It was just
the only place.
The cold ground beneath, beneath us. That was the stillness. That was the calm. That kind of, that I remember anyway that I needed. And we dug that ditch almost as soon as we arrived. It was just a safe place. That was the only safe place because up on land, all these things kept happening. And then, so then, at some point, I guess I walked down to the Bay and Lure, and I remember standing there, and I remember just, my whole body, I just felt, I felt so naked and stripped and bare. There was cars going around, but it felt like, I was in the middle of a highway.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just people going by, like I was standing there, and nobody understood what was going on. There was nowhere I could go to get, it seemed anyway, to get some understanding or to just say what was going on. So I felt so completely alone, so disconnected. And I just felt like the whole world started to go flat. Like I was either going to I needed to either kill myself or I was going to go insane because my dad did, had that nervous breakdown, and I watched him, and my mom said, well, I remember her saying, I don't have the luxury to have the nervous breakdown, I need to just get on with it. So I remember thinking, well, I could have a nervous breakdown and go insane, or like I literally felt like that line of insanity that I was brushing up against, standing there. And it was like my hands were out, like I was standing like this. I was like standing like this, like going, I don't know. So I just felt so helpless and vulnerable. And then I thought, oh, I just need to just jump in front of a car. Because then it would be all over. Because I remember things started to just go very still. And I know now I was probably just dissociating, but I remember things getting very, very still. And gray, like that, it's that freaking gray.
It's that gray. I know, I feel that when you say the gray.
Probably,
I definitely feel that.
What's that?
I feel that when you say that in here, like that gray. I felt that.
So everything was like still but numb, not stillness, but numb. And I remember just like floating, like I started to leave, like, and I was okay with that, and I was okay with whatever happened to my body. If I was, if I walked out in front of a car or whatever, I mean, it was just fine. But then, because I was already dissociating, and then I heard this voice. God, it was, and I don't know, I have no idea where it came from, but it was, yeah, you can do this, or, you can go insane, or you kill yourself, or you can, gather stories for your grandchildren.
What was the voice like? What did it sound like? Or do you remember? Was it your voice or someone, or it just?
I don't think it was my voice. I think it was. I don't really know. I don't think it was my voice because I heard it like.
Mm-hmm. Different.
What? I have. Well, first of all, I don't even know what that means. But when I heard it, it made sense somehow, and I started to come back into my body. I started to settle in, and then I could feel, and then I felt this calm.
Like a peace?
Like a peace that came over, and I knew somehow things were going to be okay in the end. So it said you can do yourself in order to gather stories for your grandchildren, and it'll be okay. You'll be okay in the end. Like you can get through this, in other words, and this is. And thinking about it now, of course, now we understood it was just, there's all these ordeals set up in your life somehow that you've got to get through. And
that's right.
You can start writing them down, which is brings us up to today, and finally deciding that I have to.
That's right.
Get them down somehow.
That's right. That's right. Incredible. Were there any? Can you think of any positive turning points in life? I guess. I mean, I'm sure you can, but of note, major. I guess that would. I guess you could. I mean, what would you regard as a like most of your fork in the road type experiences? Like I'd say this one was. Which can you most regard as positive?
Well, I would say the one that comes to mind. I forgot my. Where's FaceTime here? Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I can't. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot my cable, so my computers weren't running out. I just wanted to check my battery on my phone because it's also low.
Okay.
Well, from 10 until 24, 25, I just remember doing whatever we had to do to survive. My dad had took off and lived somewhere else. My older brother went to stay with him.
Oh, okay.
So now I was the I felt like I had to be the dad. Mom was now,
Yeah.
see, not only, see, the other thing that was so crazy making about that first time around was not only was my mom not available for what was going on for me, she was leaning into me because I was the favorite in the family in theory, and I was always the one that stayed back to help her.
Yeah.
And so now she was on top of my own stuff going on, which I couldn't share because she couldn't cope with it. She was now leaning into me to help her deal with, because she never told her mom and dad what was going on. She never told anybody.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
She was so ashamed and embarrassed about it, but she told me all the time. So then I had that burden to walk around with. And
The soundboard
so
of the family?
What's that?
The sounding board of the family, then?
Say that
So
again?
then you were the sounding board of the family.
Yeah, and then
In the family.
so then I got to be my mom, the man of the house, which is an inordinate amount of stress for a kid, and
Absolutely.
which I know now. I mean, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought that's just what life is, right? And somebody said once, okay, so wait a minute. You were the man of the house, you were the favorite, and you were the one that everybody and your mom confided in. They said that kind of psychological projection would make anybody probably crazy,
For sure. Yeah.
But somehow I didn't know. I had already got to craziness, and now I was back. And then I did what my mom did, just got on with it. And then we all got jobs, and then we made
So
it work.
then you're a provider.
In a lot of ways that.
You're a provider then as well.
What's that?
So then you take on another role as a provider too.
Well, but I didn't realize that by the time I left Toronto at 25 to go tree planting and move out west and try to get away from everything, it felt like literally when I was standing on 4th Avenue just before I walked into this herb shop, I had somehow found a way to get a job, and I was inquiring about this job at this Folklore Herbs, and I already had my master's in herbology by the time I left, so I thought, perfect. I got to Vancouver, and literally this summer we went tree planting first up north, and when I came down to Vancouver and I was standing on 4th Avenue now, I literally felt like I came out of the tornado that had started when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
I had no idea I was in a tornado. I had no idea that I was in that kind of whirlwind of stress and being the provider and making it work and, just survival, basically, old brain stuff. My mom and my brother and sister and I, we did a really good job with what we had. We worked very hard, and we worked together, and we in the end, my sister and I bought a house for mom, and I renovated it. We made some money, and then I gave her the cash, and then I literally gave her the key, and and I left, and
wow.
And I figured, okay, I'm done with the family.
I've done my duty.
Done my duty, raised my brothers and sisters. I'm done, and then landed on 4th Avenue in Kitsilano, and came out of this vortex of this spinning, and I just remembered, whoa, like, this was so disorienting for me and yet so calming, even like, from that 10 years old to that, that time I probably was 25, that was just a crazy bunch of years, and then all of a sudden that same feeling was like gone, and I was standing there in this calmness and this like stillness. Now I was feeling, and I remember the sun being out, and I remember the cars were going slow, everything slowed down.
Yeah.
It was just.
And that was what time of year? I guess if it
into this.
If it was just before tree planting, that would have been in the spring as well, right? Or spring or May or June.
Yeah, so we went planting, so it was May, June.
Okay.
So it would have been the end of June.
Okay.
And it was beautiful and sunny, and that stillness that came, and then I thought, I had a big smile on my face, and I kind of felt like, great. And I'm walking in, and I've got my master's, and I'm going to go and see if I get a job at a herb shop. And, and I walked in, and I remember thinking, whoa, this is more like it. And Donald, my teacher, was there.
Yeah.
And he said, we've been expecting you, kind of thing. And I said, what? He goes,
Oh,
yeah, I
right.
knew you were coming.
Yeah,
And I went,
Donald left you the backpack.
he left me in the end, all
Yeah.
those years later, 14 years later or something, with the light knapsack with nothing in
Wow.
it. Yeah.
So that's how you met Donald.
But
You walked in and it was his shop.
it wasn't his shop,
Oh.
but he was managing it.
Okay.
He had interviewed a bunch of other people, and he said, no, there's somebody else coming. I know this person's coming. And because he was so dialed in, to his spirituality and his stillness. And so he ended up like greeting me, giving me like a warm welcome, and I went, great, and he said, yeah, of course you got the job. Yeah, you can start tomorrow or what have you. And I went, yes.
Yeah.
So that was a very positive, that was almost the opposite, and it's funny, at Bay and Bloor in 1969, the traffic, that's a busy downtown area, but Kitsilano and 4th Avenue, that was the hippieville, of Vancouver back in the 60s, but now, 14 years later, in 84, 85, 83, I was there. It was, the cars were going slow. It was relaxed. It was very peace, love, and wheat germ. It was lots of, I don't know, like just
real
hippies. A lot of
real ones.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think.
I had, of course, I liked the hippies because
Yeah.
but I had so dissociated from so much of the memories. I had no idea that I had been raped. I had no idea that, I had witnessed a murder. I had no idea that I had...
It was blocked.
Any of these things had gone on. The only thing I remember was...
Blocked out? Blacked out? You would black them out? Or block them out?
I blocked them out, yeah.
Wow.
I didn't remember until, my daughter died, and I just fell apart at 30, and everything came, came flooding out. So.
Do you, when you were between the 10 and 25, do you remember feeling, I think because now you feel, but did you feel very deeply, or were you block out of feelings too? Because I get the sense now you're a person that feels very deeply about things. Like when you feel, you really feel emotions. Were you always even the same throughout that point, or did you have a period where you blocked out that?
Well,
how did you feel?
I think, yeah, good
as a
question.
child?
I think a bunch of me continued to feel very deeply, but there was no room for it. There was no permission for it.
Mm-hmm. But you felt anger, I'm sure, very deeply, and rage very deeply. That was something that ran through.
I think I felt a lot of feelings very deeply, and a lot of hurt and pain and suffering, but I also there was no way to let them out.
Yeah.
So that was futile. I just realized there's no sense, there's nowhere to go with it. And then, and it was funny because when we got involved with, when I got involved with Donald and spirituality, and we did the Spiritual Healing Center, it took me years to kind of get connected with all those feelings, of like being able to express all those feelings. So I could feel them, but I couldn't express them. I couldn't find a way to access them. And in the spiritual world back then, in the early 80s, there was no room for psychology. It was just a lot of room for, peace, joy, and we kind of put down psychology and any kind of feelings that were as a result of childhood woes or challenges or what have you, and we kind of diminished them all. So there was no space, there was no safety in being able to express the feelings there, but I was also feeling incredibly well connected and loved and supported, but I had these parts of me that were completely shut down. But I didn't know that. I just started to know it when I went to seminars and everybody else was able to access those deep feelings. I wasn't, I was completely numb. It was like I couldn't access the rage. The rage scared the shit out of me because when it did come out, I mean, eventually, like, the last 3 fights I had, were three punches were thrown, one in each fight, and I threw them. And those people never got up, like they said, oh, okay, stop, because the rage came out in the punch. And so I didn't have access to other feelings other than rage really until my daughter died, and then it just came. I just burst. Everything, and all the memories came back. And
What did you name her again? What was the name?
her name, Kluane, Kluane.
Yeah. And there's a meaning behind that, right?
After,
There's
sorry?
the meaning behind that with.
So it means clear blue water, and Kluane, there's the Kluane National Park in the Yukon, and there's the Kluane Lake, and there's the Kluane Indians, First Nations people. And my wife at the time, her favorite place was up in Kluane National Park, so we named her that.
It's a beautiful name. Absolutely beautiful. Let's see. Oops. Do you have me? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to ask, when change and transition come sometimes too quickly in our lives, we try to hold on to the past. What change did you struggle against, and how did it turn out? Was that the change of leaving Ireland? Were you holding on to that, like a vision or a version of Ireland that you like fantasized almost about because it was really realistic, like it was just that much more beautiful and better and safe, but did you struggle, I guess, to hold on to the past too much?
You know what? Can we have that? I'm just noticing the.
Yeah.
We've
had about 50 minutes.
I had to put so many people off last week. I've got a bit of a crazy day, and
That's okay. We've got a lot.
I wanted to just get us started, and
We've
I'm
got.
really glad that we've done.